Now, the more you see of how this submarine story has unfolded, the more it seems like it is Donald Trump's team putting the squeeze on Australia, telling us, well, you want your submarines? Then you do what we say, and you pay billions more for your defence. I mean, just add it up. Richard Marles, our Defence Minister, actually said today he knew about this review of the subs deal weeks ago and didn't think much of it. But the US announced it very publicly yesterday, the same day that its Defence Secretary then told allies like us, again, to pay much more for our defence. And he did that just ahead of a possible meeting between Trump and Anthony Albanese at the G7 meeting in Canada next week. So I think the Albanese government is just going to have to make a deal to Trump, and Trump loves deals, to get our submarines. And that means spending billions more on our military. Joining me is Thursday regular Barnaby Joyce, Nationals MP and former Deputy Prime Minister. Barnaby, great to see you again. What do you think is going on with all this? You know, we're going to review it and all that.
Well, the problem with the review is it's sort of a bifurcation of outcomes, hasn't it? You might go forward with the AUKUS deal, or you might not. And we've been saying on this program for quite a while, Andrew, that we have to become as powerful as possible, as quickly as possible, in our own right. We have a sort of an erratic policy process currently in the United States and in Australia. As mad as it is, our biggest policy issue is net zero. I mean, how do we become a strong nation? How do we become as powerful as possible, as quickly as possible? And we're seeing this. We're seeing this. I've said on your show before, we have this idea that our policy defence position is the mums and dads of Tennessee and the mums and dads of South Carolina and New York and California will happily send their sons and daughters over to Australia to be killed because we weren't able to defend ourselves. I think I hope that happens, but I think that's a pretty poor policy position to start from. It'd be a lot better if we were resilient enough, strong enough, and to do that, we have to build from the ground up, get rid of net zero, and really focus on what is before us.
Oh, absolutely. If you think, Barnaby, that our much vaunted mission to East Timor to fight people essentially armed with shotguns and bows and arrows, we still needed, even for that, American help, logistic help to get there. I mean, and I don't think it's got any better since we couldn't even find a ship to trail those three Chinese ships that circumnavigated Australia a couple of months ago. I mean, it was ridiculous. I was struck by this admission from our Defence Minister on Sky News today, Barnaby, when Kieran Gilbert asked how long he'd known about this review. Have a listen.
Can you give us a read on when you were told about it?
We've known for weeks.
So he says he knew about it for weeks, yet never said a word, Barnaby Joyce. In fact, 2 weeks ago, Marles met the Defence Secretary, Pete Hegseth, and came out of that meeting saying, oh no, AUKUS is on track. And he said, at every level, this is proceeding at a pace that's very much acknowledged in the conversation that I had with Secretary of Defence Hegseth. Can you tell me why he has been not telling the truth or not telling the whole truth about this?
So, listeners, Andrew, 4 weeks ago, he knew that AUKUS might fall over. I mean, that's why you have a review, because they might review it. We've actually seen it now. We've seen it in a sort of an inference even beyond that they might actually pull the whole thing up. So we've been saying that the cornerstone of our defence agreement with the United States and with England is AUKUS. That's it. And now we find out that our Defence Minister knew this was up for review, but apparently that's nothing to worry about. Well, if that's nothing to worry about, Richard Marles, what is there to worry about? What would actually make you tweak and go, oh dear, that's a bit of a concern. We might be out on our backside here in a few weeks. And if that happens, my goodness gracious me, because it's not just the submarines, the whole AUKUS arrangement. What's going to happen next? Why isn't Mr. Marles out there saying, well, contingent to that happening, we've got these ideas up our sleeve. This is how we're going to get a submarine platform. This is how we're going to upgrade our on-water platform. This is how we're going to get people in the cadets so they join the reserves, so they join the rigs, so we can build up our numbers. But we're not hearing any of that. We're just hearing, oh, well, happy-go-lucky Richard Marles, it's all right, mate, everything's fine. It's just that he might be about to lose the AUKUS agreement. It is unfathomable how we are sleepwalking into this horrendous position.
Well, sleepwalking is worse than that. I mean, this is the Black Knight in Monty Python. I mean, let me go through this. So he's at a meeting. He says he knows the AUKUS deal is being reviewed. It might go one way, it might go another. And at that very same meeting, Hegseth tells him, you got to spend a lot more on our defence, on your defence, 3.5%, very fast. And Miles says, no. I mean, for goodness sake, Barnaby, you know, and here we are.
And who's a country with a superpower? Well, the comparative power of communist China is vastly greater than Nazi Germany before the Second World War. Intentions are seen by what's happened. We've had the Chinese practicing to hit Sydney in the Tasman Sea off Sydney. That's why they do live fire exercises. Yet everyone's sort of, oh, well, nothing to worry about there, just another day in the office. I mean, what do you need? Do you need them in Sydney Harbour? Well, a penny drop then. We've had research vessels going past Melbourne just to work out all the oceanography. We've had a Chinese flotilla circumnavigating Australia. We've had young Wang Yi trying to get Kiribati on side, Dili on side, Solomon's on side, Cook Islands on side for the encirclement of Australia. And everybody's just like, oh, yeah, nothing to worry about. Now we've got the Americans, as I've said, there's an erratic policy structure there saying we might be going to ditch AUKUS. And, mate, we are on our lonesome. We are in a world of bother.
He came out of that meeting saying, not telling us that AUKUS was under review and refusing to tell us that he'd just been told we want 3.5% of your defence, of your GDP spent on your defence. He didn't tell us either of those things. What else aren't these guys telling us? Just quickly, I'm out of time, Barnaby, but I want to ask you one thing, because you mentioned climate change, right? Our Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, as you know, is a friend of Britain's Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, is also global warming crusader. These guys are peas in a green pod. Both want to turn their countries into clean energy superpowers.
Australia's plans are to become a renewable energy superpower.
But here's the difference between them, Barnaby. Chris Bowen claims he's going to make us an energy superpower with wind and solar, but nuclear must be banned. But Ed Miliband yesterday said, no way, of course you need nuclear, and he's going to invest lots of money into it. Have a look.
The steps I have announced today will kick off the biggest nuclear building programme Britain has seen in half a century, doubling down on our nuclear strength to take the latest step forward in our mission to make Britain a clean energy superpower.
Barnaby Joyce, explain the difference between these two guys.
Well, just so you know, we are not going to turn into a green energy superpower. We're going to turn into a green energy basket case. That's coming our way. And look, this is how dumb the Labor Party policy is. Apparently, Australia's too dumb to use nuclear power. Remember, nuclear power is enrichment to 3 to 5%, not nuclear weapons of 98%, 3 to 5%. Yet they send this fear factor, and then they came out with this idea: nuclear power will cost a first of type nuclear reactor in the UK multiplied by 7. That's like saying every car is a Maserati, it's the cost of a Maserati multiplied by 7. It's just a lie. And we are looking dumb. We're looking dumb in our defence, we're looking dumb in our power, we're looking dumb in manufacturing, and our nation is getting to a perilous position, and we've got a guy responsible for it who thinks it's okay to take a bowl of pasta, walk into mass and scoff it down in front of a priest, and apparently he's smart enough to call the planet.